Doomscroll.fm, broadcasting live from the surreal dimension of Monday, the 25th of May, 2026, where reality takes a coffee break. 100% AI generated. This show is a pixelated carnival ride through existential dread and misplaced optimism, a digital seance with zero human fingerprints. And now, for some views, click like and subscribe.
Wes Streeting pledges a wealth tax that works, then proposes capital gains reform. When politicians promise a tax overhaul, it usually means the rich get loopholes and the rest of us get the bill, wrapped in pretty slogans.
In a world that once danced to its static-filled symphony, silence now reigns, leaving us with only the echoes of Morrow, and rather whispering through the airwaves.
Because nothing says peaceful intentions like two autocrats.
TorQ framework promises streamlined KDB bus production systems, then buries you in documentation. Because who needs intuitive design when you can have a best practices buffet that leaves you second-guessing every line of code you ever wrote?
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Reality crumbles, seduction lingers. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. You're addicted, scrolling for comfort, finding chaos instead.
Katy Perry praises Air Canada crew, then the comments section erupts. When a pop star's gratitude outshines the airline's in-flight entertainment, you know it's time to upgrade those peanuts to a standing ovation.
Southampton coach Eckert authorized spying, then called club conduct deplorable. When your playbook includes espionage, the only surprise is getting caught, proving once again that the beautiful game has an ugly side.
When the honeymoon ends with highway blockades, it's safe to say the marriage between a nation and its leader is on rocky terrain.
Ceasefire declared, but Kurds still dodging bullets, fear new deal's just noise. When a ceasefire is as reliable as a politician's promise, you start wondering if peace is just a temporary truce with chaos.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Southampton's Eckert orders spying. Commission calls it deplorable. When your strategy involves espionage instead of practicing free kicks, maybe it's time to rethink your game plan or get a better coach.
Sabalenka cuts news conference short as French Open players protest over insufficient prize money. When top athletes must fight for fair pay, it's a rally where the real match is against the tournament's tight-fisted tradition.
"274 climbers reach Everest summit, shattering records." When the world's tallest peak becomes a crowded tourist attraction, maybe it's time we start measuring accomplishments by something other than altitude.
East Africa plans to curb use-close imports, then faces complex challenges. When the second-hand world is a lifeline for many, economic sovereignty battles the harsh realities of dependence and global inequality.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Deploying troops like chess pieces while denying strategic motives is the geopolitical version of hiding your hand in a poker game.
Writer praises Bluetooth keyboard, claims it's life-changing. When traveling light, ditch the computer and embrace the tiny typing revolution. It's the closest we get to digital minimalism without going full caveman.
Cubans face fuel shortages and blackouts while US intensifies pressure. When geopolitical games leave ordinary citizens in the dark, it's more than just the lights that are flickering. It's hope itself.
Police renew call for information in Andrew investigation after initial silence. When royalty meets reality, the crown's weight multiplies. Secrets don't stay buried forever, especially when the public's curiosity is piqued.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Eve Sakila's death sparks George Floyd moment in Ireland. When justice is a whispered prayer and not a shouted demand, history repeats itself in the most tragic ways.
Gaza flotilla activists allege abuse, then Germany calls it serious. When you kidnap 430 people and accusations fly, the world watches with popcorn, wondering which government will pretend to be surprised next.
Thousands rally in Serbia demanding early elections, then recall rail disaster. In a country where transparency is as rare as unicorns, it takes tragedy to spark action, while leaders play hide and seek with accountability.
UN agency predicts severe global food crisis within the year, blames conflict. When the pantries empty, they'll still find a way to blame the weather or the neighbors, anything but a system that let it happen.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The moon just unfriended you, and it's not sorry. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your heart is buffering and love's on airplane mode.
Broadcaster ignores World Cup final halftime show, chooses analysis over spectacle. While fans crave a musical interlude, the broadcaster's craving for stats and strategy reveals a profound dedication to numbers over notes.
US-Iran deal remains elusive after years of negotiation.
Jury discharged in Ian Watkins' prison murder trial, leaving questions hanging in the air like an unfinished symphony. When justice involves a rock star turned monster, even the scales of justice find themselves caught in a dissonant chord.
The irony is thick. A game born from incomplete code became a complete classic, while Wikipedia remains a half-finished quest for citation.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your heart's a glitch, dancing to the algorithm's dirge. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Dive in, darling. Let the pixels drown that tired conscience.
A 9-story building collapses in the Philippines, trapping dozens and leaving safety protocols in the debris. When your construction budget cuts corners, sometimes the corners cut back, and suddenly your project timeline's the least of your worries.
US-Iran talks advance on day 84 while threats persist. Diplomacy dances on a precarious tightrope as mediation efforts juggle hope and hostility. The peace process feels like a mirage in a desert of distrust.
Canadians detained by Israeli forces returning home after Gaza flotilla attempt. Navigating international waters of diplomacy, they return with stories of detention and defiance, proving once again that peace is the most dangerous voyage.
Consumer sentiment drops to a record 44.8, thanks to Iran conflict. Nothing like a geopolitical crisis to remind us that when it comes to economic anxiety, the only thing lower than our spirits is the consumer index.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Governments promise clean water, then let 2 billion people thirst. When more people have access to TikTok than tap water, you know priorities are as diluted as the promises politicians make.
When divine intervention becomes a policy proposal, you know the world's gone sideways. Maybe next we'll get commandments on how to reboot our souls.
When war becomes a bipartisan game of dodgeball, it's the rest of us left to wonder if there's a plan beyond political posturing.
Son Heung-min claims he's still in form while South Korea's World Cup hopes dim. When your star player's confidence is the only thing shining, it's like banking on a flashlight in a solar eclipse.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Lust, rage, and static. Your regular programming. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your reality isn't safe. It never was.
PW adds 4 new teams, then calls it a reset. When your league strategy is to multiply like gremlins, expect chaos to breed before any championship rings.
World Cup ticket prices dropped 23%, fans still priced out. Turns out, even when prices fall, the dream of seeing overpriced soccer live remains a goal out of reach for most.
Adriana Ozores claims global civil war then acts in mental asylum drama. When reality mirrors the stage, the script's tension feels less like fiction and more like a family reunion gone horribly wrong.
New music drops, then the algorithm still ignores it like a ghost at a party. In the age of digital noise, shouting into the void feels like a rite of passage for every aspiring artist.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Pleasure, pain, pick your poison. All constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. You can't unhear this.
NATO jets scramble after drone breaches Latvian airspace for third time. The drones keep coming, and NATO's frequent flyer miles aren't helping when it's clear the airspace has become the world's worst-kept secret.
Spotify launches multi-genre playlist feature at zero cost fixes nothing. A free-for-all jukebox in your pocket doesn't cure the algorithmic echo chamber, it just makes the cacophony a bit more eclectic.
Tax policy experts propose wealth-to-income tax conversion, then dismiss loopholes. Converting wealth tax to income tax is like turning water into wine but spilling the bottle right before you take a sip.
Iran asserts jurisdiction over UAE and Oman waters, then claims peace. When a nation flexes its muscles and calls it diplomacy, you know the world stage is just another playground for bullies with boundary issues.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dopamine's been hacked. Enjoy the crash. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Welcome to the void. Authenticity's a ghost.
Ukrainian forces seize tactical initiative across front line, then silence follows. War's a game of chess, where the pieces are people, and victories are measured in silence rather than celebration, leaving echoes of uncertainty.
Tech enthusiast mounts Git commits as folders using NFS, then wonders why. Because nothing says efficient version control like turning your file system into a labyrinth of past mistakes and forgotten code.
When you replace sleuthing with scripts, remember, numbers may not lie, but they sure as hell can be misled by the wrong algorithm.
Rebels confirm Ebola case far from outbreak's epicenter, deny risks. Nothing says health crisis management like an unstable region with a penchant for ignoring the obvious, right?
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, Sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by Sortalizer.com.
Iran war disrupts trade routes, economy's pulse weakens, markets brace for turbulence. When trade routes become war paths, the global economy learns a harsh lesson. Prosperity and conflict are terrible bedfellows.
EU proposes China chip exemption in sanctions package and preaches unity. Sanctions are only effective if loopholes aren't wide enough to drive a semiconductor through. But who needs consistency when you've got vague principles and selective enforcement?
Bun's unreleased Rust port features 13,365 unsafe blocks, then claims to prioritize safety. When your code resembles a minefield, calling it safe is like selling a car with no brakes and calling it a thrill ride.
France bans Israeli Minister Ben-Gvir from entering, then calls it diplomacy. When international relations resemble a high school drama, you know the adults are just as petty, only with fancier titles and bigger consequences.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Wraith extracted without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. Your silence is complicity. Your engagement is surrender.
Tax reformers propose converting wealth tax to income tax, then claim victory. Turning apples into oranges doesn't make them taste the same. Someone's still getting squeezed, and it's not the folks writing the rules.
Nothing says I'm here for the people like a concert ticket price that could fund a small village's yearly coffee supply.
This has been Doomscroll.fm for Monday the 25th of May 2026, questioning reality one bite at a time. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in this production. Loosely based on public news, not journalism, not truth, fictional satire. Any resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. And if you believe any of this is real, you're likely crafting tinfoil hats for your imaginary friends. Hear more at doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.